peace. Good morning, good morning. Peace, peace. How are you all today? How's life treating you? Blessings and peace. Peace and blessings. I know the wind ain't gonna come through right now. Try to knock us down. We're not having it. Good morning. How y'all doing today? Thank you for joining us. Tag a friend. We've been having a relatively cool morning, but now it seems like the shenanigans are starting. But yeah, come on in. Join us. Tag a friend. Hey, what's happening? Udacy, Phoenix, what's going on? How y'all doing today? What's everybody smoking on? Let me know. What are you smoking on? I had some Tony Bonanza. I think that's what it's called. Pretty tasty. You as well, Phoenix. You as well. What y'all smoking on this morning? Let me know. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. What you doing on this great morning? This great morning? Counting my blessings and trying to what's this? Counting my blessings and trying to share these lessons. Why is it hard for black participants? We're going to talk about that today, Sir Michael Esquire. Please stand on with our guests. We fermenting this. We're not ready for y'all. Y'all next week. Not next week, the 4th. But count your blessings this morning. If you have any to count, I'm sure you do. We all do. You can wiggle your fingers and toes. Give thanks. You know? That's what I'm doing. As we prepare. Now, as you all know, who've been following us, Kimbo Kush. Okay, that's what's up. We read out of the 420 God's Bible, the New Testament, K-N-E-W. And today we are on day 28. So day 28, let's just go ahead and get started. By the way, you can purchase, it's all good, no problem. You can purchase fresh merch. You see I have on the long sleeve. We got sweatshirts, short sleeve, camouflage. And we have the books as well on 420 God's Bible, 420godsbible.com. So yeah, check it out. Now, today's blessing, synopsis goes, sooner till I am. Sooner till I am. Full for purpose. I stand above the fray. No cocaine, heroin, caffeine, nicotine. No nicotine, caffeine, heroin, cocaine are poison. Till all days, I continue great acts. Now what that means is, my cuppeth runneth over with blessings, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Give me a second, y'all. It's getting a little chilly out here again. It was warm till the sun got covered up. I'm back outside, by the way, for the first time in a few months. I'm Mr. Rogers. But it got a little chilly out, so bear with me. Uh-oh. Hold on. Dag on it. Here it goes. My cup is runneth over. Hold on. With blessings, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That happened sometime on live. It was very calm for a while, and then the wind came. All right. I feel like that wind is coming again. Might leave it down. Anyway. Closer. My cuppeth runneth over. Blessings, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. I am full. My purpose right now, as I expressed to our guest, Rick Ross, is to break the stigma between the Most High. Trying to get my shot right. And the Most High's most precious, one of the Most High's most precious creations, cannabis. Above the fray. Now that's a little bit of a double entendre. Frey is a Norse god, a Viking god for fertility and crops and peace. And also the Frey, F-R-A-Y, is the ruckus and the BS. The drama. When you're purpose-filled, you stay away from that. Now, I don't do drugs. I smoke marijuana. So know the difference between poison and medicine. You get about 2 billion heartbeats. Caffeine will speed you up. Heroin slows your heart down. We're all chemicals reacting. Your physical body will have a chemical reaction to whatever it consumes, to the point that the cells even ask for it. For the same chemicals over and over again. Know what chemicals you like to react, and with act, consume accordingly. Act and consume accordingly. Continue great acts. And that's peace. Yeah, so let's remove that one. And let's see if we can get our guest on. I don't see her yet. Let me give her a call. Meantime, tell me what y'all smoking on. Again. We're waiting for our guests. Bonita Money. I'm in DC. Where are you?
Please leave your message for 8189.
Still waiting on our guest. What's up, Dab Daddy? The new French toast. What's the new French toast? What is the new French toast? We're still waiting on our guest. Let's bring in our guest. It's coming on in 2 weeks. They still there. You're in the shower, are you?
Hey, mate, you caught me in the shower,
Hey,
dude.
my bad. Cut it off.
Yeah, I'll talk
That
to
was
you
an accident. All right.
Cheers. Sorry.
Cheers. My bad.
Yeah.
Let's get that off here. How do you stop that?
Something to tell my children about.
All right.
How do I shut
I
her
get this
up?
dude off. You gotta end it yourself. Hit the X
All
button.
right. Hold on.
I don't know what's going on, man. That was a how you get somebody off? Right. Try to get him off. He's still stuck on there. We still waiting on our guest as well. All right, cool. He's gone. Um, not sure what's going on with her. We spoke to her yesterday. The Marathon Nipsey Hussle strand. Okay. I've been hearing a lot about that. French toast. That's what's up. How long you been in Cali? Yeah, man. It's kind of 15. Okay. I know it's early over there. They might be. Hey, good morning. I'm ready whenever you are. Yeah, just go. No, no, on Instagram. Yeah, just go on my live, and then I can bring you on. Okay, thanks. Bye bye. All right, people. Thanks for holding tight. Whoever did stay. It looked like you the only one that stuck with me, Sir Michael. That's what's up. Dad, you still in the building? It's all good. Farmer Hodge the God. We're gonna be talking about you as well, Farmer Hodge the God. We're still waiting on our guests. Try to start a cannabis in Blackball. Yeah, Sir Michael. Um, our guest today can she can point you in the right direction. She's tied into a lot of different and she's tied into California. She's from California, so she should be able to really help you out. Um, at least point you in the right direction. Farmer Hodge as well. We're waiting on him to get some of his products out. Interview him as well because he has some exciting news for the cannabis market coming up. So we're gonna definitely look forward to seeing him as well. Boom. There we go. Bonita Money just joined us.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I know it's early. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Had some technical difficulties, but I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Um,
Absolutely.
so let's just go ahead and get started with tell everybody your name and where you're from.
I am Bonita Bo Money. I am out of Los Angeles, California. Hey, Black Canna Mag. Hey, Hayes.
That's what's up. LA, born and raised?
No, I was born in Korea, Seoul, South Korea.
Okay.
Um, my mother's Korean, my father's Black, and my father's from Jersey, but I was raised in California.
Okay, that's what's up. Can you talk to us a little bit about your spiritual background, how it started and evolved, and where it is today?
Yeah, I was raised Christian, and actually, I got myself baptized myself. I went to church myself at 8 years old and decided to get baptized.
You just walked in it
Um,
yourself?
yes, I did.
Wow.
Just felt it was something I needed to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so
hmm
since 8 years old, you've been walking in the light.
Absolutely. And I would say that I'm more spiritual than I am religious.
Hmm.
So I just feel that all of us have our own personal, beliefs as far as our spirituality.
Hmm.
I just don't believe in institutionalized religion. That's my issues.
Yeah, I do too.
So,
I'm kind of here to crush that. You know what I mean? Really, because if you really look at what institutionalized religion has done, it's done more harm than good, I think.
right.
Um, the books that they've used are good, but the tactics that they've used to spread it and what they've done with it has been awful. But yeah, so we'll help. You can help me get rid of it. All right, so
Absolutely.
talk to us about your media background. Um, is that where you started? Like, I mean, as far as your career?
Yeah, I went to USC, and so I am a TV and film producer by trade. And so I still work in that industry, but of course, I went into cannabis about 6 years ago. But yeah, I started as a manager in the entertainment industry, went into casting, then started producing, worked with Dr. Dre, did a movie called Cradle to the Grave.
Hmm.
So
You
yeah,
produced that one?
yes.
Okay. All right. How about that? So were you in the music industry as well? Did you work in the music industry or mainly film and TV?
Film and television, but when I was producing, all the films were all like they were soundtrack driven. So
Okay.
folks like Dre and Pac, they were like, they were getting film deals just because
They
studios
had.
wanted the soundtrack.
Hmm.
Soundtracks were making more than films at that point. So,
It was kind of like with Elvis, right? Remember they used to put Elvis in movies all the time?
of course, absolutely, only
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I
Yeah.
mean, making money. They put asses in the seats, you know.
Hmm.
Um, Now I wanted to ask you about. I saw a feature on you about Princess Singe and the product that you kind of developed to help her. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, Princess Inga.
Princess Inga. I'm
East
sorry.
and Hinge. Okay, don't mess her name up
I'm
now.
sorry. How you pronounce it?
Inga,
Inga.
Princess
Okay.
Inga. She's Dutch. She's from the Netherlands. She's from Amsterdam.
Okay. And she's the princess she's like royal princess of the Dutch royal family.
No, actually, the Saudi royal family. Her son is Prince Bandar.
Oh wow. Okay.
So the king that just died a few years ago,
Uh-huh.
that is her son's grandfather. So
Okay.
the
And
princess
so, but she
is
has like
Saudi.
there was she had a condition that you developed something to help her out with, right?
Yeah, she had MRSA. So MRSA is basically a staph bacterial infection that's it's drug resistant. So it's really not curable through any type of pharmaceuticals.
Mhm.
And so and at the same time, Darren Fells, the NFL player, he had it too. He had it on his foot,
Mhm.
and they had to amputate part of his foot. Because that's the only treatment. Because what they'll do is they'll put you on vancomycin, which is a very, very strong antibiotic, which really just antibiotics break down the body, really. So it doesn't really work. So with her, she's 52 days in treatment in the hospital, and the doctor said it's just not working, and we don't see it working, so we're just going to have to amputate. And she refused to do that, and she just went home and started writing her will. And basically, it was a situation where, she just wasn't willing to do that. And she started researching, and she saw that cannabis had some properties that possibly could work with MRSA.
Mhm.
And at the time, I was making like Rick Simpson oil, and I was donating that to cancer patients. So she knew that I was working with these oils, but I had never worked with the topical. And I definitely never worked with MRSA.
Mhm.
So it's just not something I wanted to do because I didn't want to be responsible for, someone's life, especially one of my best friends.
Mhm.
So she said, well, look, Bo, I have nothing to lose. So at this point, just please just try. So I had a friend out of Maine who had a topical cream. And then I asked her, what the ingredients were. And I started doing research. And so I found that she had a good base, but she didn't have all the ingredients that would work as far as my research. And
Mhm.
so what I found, it was certain terpenes from organic extracts that work with MRSA.
Mhm.
And that's what really does it. It's not CBD, it's not THC, it's the terpenes from cannabis and about 14 other extracts that I used.
Mhm.
And so yes, it absolutely just killed the MRSA bacteria in like 5 days.
Wow. So have you patented this
Mhm.
formula?
No, and we were looking into patenting. The only thing with patenting, it just doesn't really make sense because once your patent goes through, your formula becomes public.
Okay.
And it's just, and if someone just takes that one ingredient and it works, then, they can run with it. So it's just better not, because it would really be hard for someone to reverse engineer my formula
Because
because I
it's
have
yours.
well, no, there's so much, the quantities are so small that
Hmm.
it would take them forever to try to reverse engineer it. So it's better just to keep it a
Gotcha.
secret,
Okay.
you know.
What's
So
the name of that product?
it was called That Glass Jar, but now we're rebranding it and we're putting it out because I've had such a big demand for it that I'm going to put it back out. The reason I took it off the market though was because the DEA started sending out cease and desist letters like to the bigger companies like Stanley Brothers who did Charlotte's Web, Green Roads, the bigger CBD companies. I just didn't want to get on their hit list because once you get on their list, it's just like
It's
they'll
hard to get off.
always, yeah, they'll just always want to like keep you under their, thumb. So
Hmm.
I just stopped selling it. But then people have been reaching out to me, just saying they have to have the cream because it works for a lot of different things, from like pain, psoriasis, eczema,
Hmm.
spider bites, burns, everything. So
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, I
yeah,
look
the
forward
plant's
to it.
pretty amazing.
It is. It really is, and that's one of the things we talked about earlier is just destroying the stigma behind it
Right.
because it's such a wonder plant. It's I can't think of a plant that's more useful in nature. I mean,
Absolutely.
I like the peanut
Absolutely.
and the soy, but they don't
Mhm.
do as much.
No, they're not medicinal like the cannabis plant. That's for sure.
Exactly. Um, so let's talk about your big baby, the National Diversity and Inclusion Cannabis Alliance mission, also talk
Yes.
mission. Oh yeah, okay. Also known as Indica.
Correct. Correct. I founded Indica about 4 years ago.
Hmm.
And it was really to create a platform for people of color that wanted to be in the industry. We find a lot of barriers for people of color.
Hmm.
And this is something that just really, it just hit home with me. Just, I'm an immigrant who's Black and Korean. And
Hmm.
there's been barriers for me ever since, I came to this country.
Hmm.
So, I've seen it in every industry where they've kept us out. And I was watching a $1 billion industry now being taken over by white suits that um, at one point were all against cannabis. You have some of these big politicians that were part of the war on drugs, and now they sit on the board of the biggest cannabis companies, and they're making millions of dollars. And for me, that's not okay when our folks are sitting in prison. So for
Indeed.
me, I had to create a platform. Well, my first organization was Women Above Ground, and that was my first platform for women of color. And that's when Marvin Washington and Montel Williams really got behind the movement because they were probably the only folks that were speaking at big conferences, and there were no diversity conferences, nothing like that. Nobody was talking social equity. No one was talking social justice. And for me, that was like, why?
Hmm.
You know. But I talked to one big organizer of a big conference, and I said, well, we need a diversity panel, which we want to lead. And he's like, well, it's not really relevant to my audience. And that said a lot to me right there.
Hmm.
So, it's like it's not relevant because they don't care and they want to make sure they keep us out. So at that point, that's when basically, we had to extort, Marvin and Montel had to basically extort the conferences to like have these diversity, panels happen. And that's how we basically started doing all these major conferences around the nation. And then it was a situation where
So
everybody wanted a diversity conference. I mean, a
so in the
diversity
beginning,
panel.
they just would just blackball you guys, like just not let you in, or just tell you no, we don't need to hear from you right now.
Yeah, it wasn't blackballing. It was a
Hmm.
situation of just saying that no, it's not relevant. Or, the folks that are coming to the conference don't really care. They don't really want to hear you. They didn't feel that we could actually fill a room with people that cared about diversity in cannabis.
Hmm. And that was only 4 years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. It
Wow.
was only 4 years ago. It's been about, I would say we started going strong about maybe 3.5 years ago,
Hmm.
as far as like getting into the conferences and making a difference.
I know there's a Woman Grow. I think they're based out of here in DC. But I remember going
Yeah.
to. They're not.
They're Colorado based.
Okay.
and they have a chapter, I'm sure, in DC. They have chapters everywhere.
Okay.
And the problem with when you have chapters like that and you're not really, you don't have any oversight on your chapters, is that you have leaders that you don't even know what they're doing. And that's what was
Mhm.
going on. There was a chapter in Ohio about 4 years ago that basically was telling black folks that they should find a better organization that would fit their color. And that was part of Women Grow. So, I mean, these are big issues.
Mhm.
And Women Grow started out as 50 basically white elite women out of Colorado that all had money
Mhm.
and, were basically trying to control, I would say, that part of cannabis, females in cannabis. And it was just the wrong messaging.
Well, that's one of the things that that's going on as well with the diversity and inclusion. A lot of times, diversity and inclusion goes toward. I mean, it's been happening since affirmative action. White women
Right.
normally are the people who benefit from these social programs that were
Yeah.
designed to help minorities.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're here to stop. And I'm glad you're here to do that. I know that there's a huge thing with prisoners who have been caught up in the drug war, nonviolent cannabis offenders. Approximately how many are there in prison right now?
Probably on the federal and state level, both.
Hmm.
Well, probably. mm, the numbers have decreased just because state by state, we're like looking at different, ways to, of course, decriminalize. So, and especially in California, so I would say probably maybe over 200, 300,000.
Oh wow. I thought it was I thought it was I thought it was less than that. I thought it was like 40 or 50,000.
Oh, I think on the federal level, I think just on
Okay.
the federal level, it's like 40,000. That's what I was saying
Okay.
on the state and federal
Gotcha.
level
Gotcha.
because it's different.
Wow. And so now what like did you see what Joe Biden just did?
I know. What did you?
So I just saw this clip yesterday about him. They're actually firing people who
Oh,
had used
yeah.
cannabis before, and
Yes.
then they're making people, I guess, use it now, whatever. They're just getting rid of people who smoke cannabis.
Five
And
staffers. Yeah, I heard it was five staffers.
yeah, but
It's not quite clear because it says drugs including cannabis.
hmm
So we don't know what that really means. I mean, because were they on opioids? Were they on cocaine? I mean, and cannabis was one of the drugs. Because if that was the case, I'd probably fire them too.
if it
I
was
won't
what
have folks. If
something
it was
besides
like meth,
cannabis.
if it was say it was meth or heroin, they wouldn't work for me either. I just don't allow
I
that.
understand that, but from what I don't know much about it because I just started hearing about it yesterday. But I heard it was for cannabis and people who are using cannabis now.
No, no. See,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. No, it was for drugs, including cannabis. So it was
Okay.
not exclusively cannabis.
All right. Okay. I'm just, I'm
Yeah.
just,
So
I don't know.
I
I
think
don't
that
know much about it.
well, yeah, I think that people need to be very clear before they start jumping to all these like conclusions with Joe Biden. I mean, yeah. Anyway, we can
Well,
talk about him later.
are there any things happening federally with cannabis? Like, is there anything that the Biden Kamala Harris ticket are trying to do to push through? They have the majority right now. Like, can't they just write some executive orders on some things, like to at least take it from Schedule One?
Yeah, they can, and we've had talks with them, and I feel hopeful. The thing about it is, there's I think there's other things that took precedence to cannabis at this point.
Hmm.
Just kind of cleaning up all Trump's mess would probably to take priority over that. But yeah, I mean, they're going to make moves towards that.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, the thing about equity that's going on as far as equity in most of the places is that most of the places usually have a small percentage when it comes to equity. Like most states, they'll give just a small percentage that's going to minorities. And many cases, like we said, black men aren't the ones who are getting these things. Who those were the most affected. But if you're only getting like let's say 10% of the licenses are going towards equity and 90% aren't, how can you ever really catch up if you're only going to ever get 10% of the market in said state?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. That's been, that's been our issue from day one. I mean, this is what our fight is about, is making sure that we do have true ownership and equity in this industry. But I mean, it's all baby steps. I mean, it's a start. I mean, LA is very different because, again, for us, true social equity folks, if it rolls that way, will hold the majority of the licenses. Because for us, there is no general licensing until 2025 for retail and for delivery. Everything has to go to social equity, and that would mean over 1,500 licenses.
Okay. Well, now, so will California be the best state as far as social equity goes? Um, or are there any other states? Because I know that you guys are spread. How many different states is your organization in right now, Indica?
Right now, we're in 5.
Okay, which
So
states are?
we're in Chicago. We are in Michigan. Well, I'll give you specific cities because I target cities that have a population of Black folks, first of all. So
Gotcha.
it's not just states, but Chicago, Detroit, Columbus, and California, and then, well, LA and Fresno, and then we have Oklahoma City too.
Okay. And
hmm
so, out of all of those states, which ones are the most, I don't know, which one is the best as far as for equity licensing? Which one like gives the most, has the best percentage, and is easiest to work through?
Well, if we're talking about a social equity plan, there's really none. We don't have a successful social equity plan. I mean, Oakland probably launched first, then we had, LA, Sacramento, San Francisco. The problem is that I haven't seen one successful program yet.
Mm,
And, Illinois, Michigan, they all have social equity plans. So does, Massachusetts. Um, and, Oklahoma, surprisingly, they don't really need one because I think what they're doing is great. I mean, and that should stand for all states. Just, keep it, open licensing where
mm-hmm,
anybody and everybody can apply.
mm-hmm.
Keep the cost low for, applying and for licensing, because that's the big problem, is that there's so many barriers to just the application process.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I don't know if you've seen any of these applications, but just getting through the application process requires, all types of, attorneys, consultants, SMEs, things like that. And then, a couple $100,000. I
Well,
mean,
that's a,
just our fees in LA. Yeah,
that's
just our
what,
fees in LA is just like 7,000 to apply. And that's
right.
not even for a license.
And you said that's non-refundable, right? Like you got to come up with 7 grand just on a wish.
Yeah, exactly. Just a wish and a hope to apply. That doesn't mean you're guaranteed a license. And then after that, you have to go on the state level
Mm-hmm,
and you have to pay at that level. So
mm-hmm.
you're in 20, 30 grand before you even before you even can start operating.
And then once you start operating, do you have to wait, or after you apply, after you put up to 20 or 30 grand just to get in line,
hmm
are there more costs that you have to like rent out a
Oh yeah.
facility?
Oh yeah. Facility build out, compliance costs, all that. You're going to be like $250,000 to $500,000 in before you can even start operating, depending on what you're doing. If you're doing cultivation in
Mm-hmm,
LA, oh, it's going to be $1 million or $2 million
mm-hmm.
before you start even operating.
And so you got it.
And
Wow.
and most social equity folks don't have that type of capital, and that's been one of the biggest problems is access to capital.
Right. Now everybody won't be able to have a dispensary though, right? So I mean, I know that everybody kind of wants that. That's just not feasible. So what are the other
No.
ways that people can get into the industry or just get into the industry without, without just thinking I want to have a
And the
dispensary.
dispensary cultivation or manufacturing distribution. I mean, there's different levels of plant touching
Mm-hmm.
licensing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like you said, not everyone is going to be an owner. And we should look broader than that because as far as our communities that have been affected by the war on drugs, we need to bring in resources and we need to bring in opportunity. So workforce development is a big piece. So California and Illinois were both the first to adopt these community reinvestment programs. So it was built into the bill. So for us under Prop 64, a percentage of our tax revenue from the state has to go to community-based organizations, or it can be actually or county or county offices that actually work with folks and communities that have been affected by the war on drugs. So this way we're circulating the money back into the communities for like mental health, workforce development, employment, expungement, just youth programming, just things like that, so that we can again, do some reparations as far as what has happened, and all the damages, to these communities, because they're still affected.
Well, yeah, and I
40
know,
years later.
yeah, it seems like I remember, and I told you I saw this video that you did on they featured you on CNN, and I forget the guy's last name, Lorenz. They showed his story. There was a movie I saw called I think it was called Rocky or Rock. It was about this woman in England whose mom was on I don't know what she was on, but she was on some kind of drugs or something. She left. Um, and he was like, she was like 14 or 15 with a child, and she was left at home. And it reminded me of his story because, he was just a person that's just living his life. He didn't help who he was born to, his mother is, but he was caught up, and then your program was able to help him change his life around.
Oh, yeah. I still work with Lorenz to this day. I mean, Lorenz is a great success story because his story was so tragic and so real, you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
he was basically brought up in the system. He had a mother, a typical kind of story. Unfortunately, that's that typical, but his mother was, on drugs, and he basically lived on Skid Row homeless, and, started selling drugs to survive, and was in and out of the foster care system, and then went to prison for cannabis, when he turned 18, and I think 4 or 5 times, and he's been, just in and out of the system. And again, as you know, when folks catch felonies that young, their lives are basically destroyed because there's so many barriers again to entry, housing, employment, voting rights. You can't even hold a what do you call it? A state license for anything. So like even if you want to open up a sober living or even hold a barber's license in California, if you have a felony, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So just things like that stop them from moving forward. So most of them, go back to prison because they go back to trying to feed themselves and their families
Mm-hmm.
the way they know how. And you can't blame them because,
Yeah.
if society's going to keep putting up barriers, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah.
I
Gotta
mean,
eat.
it's just ridiculous.
And so now with your program, I know that you guys, part of it is social, um, the social impact is helping the community as well. So like I saw him out feeding people,
Hmm.
but he was also able to get into the cannabis industry as well. In different
Right.
states, you're doing that, and the recidivism rate um, is about what percent for people going back to prison? Is it like in the 80%
Is
range? I
it,
don't know.
is it,
Recidivism
well,
rate.
I don't know. I don't know each city or state. I mean, I'm out of LA, but it was pretty high. I mean, but for us, we've created so many different programs, just the state. I mean, we have an awesome governor when it comes to, just the anti-prison, prison reform, anti-recidivism, just things like that. So for us, we have a lot of support. Not enough, but at least we have some. I mean, he's looking to close prisons and not build more jails. There was supposed to be a huge jail going up in LA County, and we stopped that.
Mm-hmm.
So now they put 200 million into programming to keep folks from going back to prison, which is good, instead of building jails to house more folks.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, so Indica is a social justice, social impact, social equity organization. So
Mm-hmm.
our goal is to really make sure that folks can enter into the cannabis industry, whether it be as owners, we help with technical assistance, cannabis education, workforce development, expungement, job training, internship. And that's what Lorenz went through. So he went through our internship program where we actually put him into licensed facilities so he could learn day-to-day operations of a cannabis retail business, cultivation, things like that.
How can
So
people get in touch with you on Indica? How can they join the organization? How, if someone wanted to work for you guys or
mhm.
just go through the
Yeah.
program, how can people do that?
Yeah, they should go to our website and just sign up. Very simple. And it's www.thendica, Indica. So it's THENDICA.org.
Okay, that's simple enough. Um,
Absolutely. And so whatever support they need, and and I think another big issue is the education around it. Most folks don't know how to get in. That's one of the questions I get asked all the time is
hmm
how do I get in? They don't even know like when licensing opens up in their cities or states. And
hmm
that's a huge problem because they missed the opportunity.
hmm
A lot of black folks didn't even know there were social equity programs in their cities and states.
Well, that's the
So they
thing, and I'm
missed.
yeah. There was a guy on earlier that was asking questions, St. Michael,
Mhm,
and he was just talking about how he felt like he just can't get. He's in California now. I think he's from my area,
mhm,
actually from this area, but he's in
mhm.
California and he just doesn't know what to do. Um,
Sure.
so St. Michael, there's the information. Go to theindica.org. Um, I was talking to you yesterday about how sometimes older black people are stifling the forward movement of cannabis education, cannabis medicine, and cannabis business. Um,
hmm
I talked to you about my friend Farmer Hodge, who's in Orange, and you guys said you're in I mean you're in New Jersey as well, trying to do some things.
Wait, can I stop you?
Sure.
My website is wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's the Indica. Indica is not with an I. It's
My
just
bad.
NDICA.
Let me unpin
And
that one.
there's no hyphen, no space. It's just the
Okay.
Indica.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, I hate for people to think we're
Right.
not there.
Me too. My bad. Let me put
Not
that
give
up
them
there.
wrong information.
All right. Is that one right?
Theindica.org. That would be it.
Okay.
Yep. No space though.
No
It's
space. Yeah,
just
I didn't put a space. I mean, they can't. Yeah, it's
okay.
no space. I don't think I put a space. It's just.
I see a space, but that's
All
okay.
right. I got you. I got you. No, I'm gonna get it right.
Eh, Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
so yes. So
yeah,
yeah.
but
So
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. You can go ahead.
so we were talking about. So we were talking. Yeah. So I guess yesterday we were talking about just the stigma around cannabis and how a lot of our like older black folks, and not just the older black folks, but you've got a lot of church folks that are just
hmm
fighting against us, and it's a huge problem as far as creating legalization for this, the cities and states that don't have it yet. Um, and this is a huge problem. But yeah, so Rick, the Freeway Rick, he's on my board and he's one of my partners. We did a radio show a few years ago. It was a DC.
Pick up that
Oh
book.
yeah, that's Rick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pick that
so
book up by the way.
yeah, so we did a radio show that was DC, Maryland based.
hmm
And it was crazy because I mean, I'll tell you, if we were live and people were in front of us, I mean, they would have like been throwing tomatoes, apples, cans. I mean, they were upset. They were calling Rick and I legal drug dealers. They said Rick was a sellout. People, they were like, "Oh, we're so disappointed in you. You were doing so well when you came out of prison." Because Rick goes around and speaks in schools,
hmm
to kids about just pro education. And it was just really crazy to me because people were so ignorant on what cannabis is and the legalization around it and the benefits of cannabis, and not just medicinally, but the economic benefits. And so when I'm hearing from people from DC and Baltimore and places like that, it's like, are you guys kidding me? It's like this plant can bring generational wealth.
hmm
And you have, and what I tell people to look at is that you have these politicians like John Boehner and you have Robert, what's his name, Roger Stone. And you have people like that who were part of the war on drugs that put our folks in prison that now are sitting on the boards of all these major cannabis companies, even have their own cannabis companies and are making millions of dollars while they were truly against it and really were part of the whole mass incarceration situation and part of the I would say misinformation
hmm
and the whole reefer madness around cannabis. Okay, but now yet they're in the industry. So if black folks aren't looking at that and saying, okay, well, wait a minute. If these people are so adamantly against it, but now they're all part of it, then we need to look at something.
Yeah, and we're going to get left behind.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
we're already, like you
That's
said,
happening.
we're already behind. We're already fighting a
Mhm.
losing battle. We're already behind in
Yeah.
legislation. We're already behind in opening and cultivation. All of the the legalizing that's going on has happened without us, basically. But and that was
Correct.
one of the things we also talked about as well, where you talked about people who are what's going to happen with this next drug war, right? Because you
Correct.
talked about how in California right now there's sort of a moratorium on locking people up. But if you don't switch over from the legacy market into the legal market, you're going to have problems. Can you talk about that a little
Absolutely.
bit?
Absolutely. Well, in Los Angeles, what we did not want to see was a new war on drugs. So when we legalized, when we went recreational, and we started our social equity program, what we wanted to make sure was that we gave folks the opportunity to transition. Because first of all, coming from that underground market, you're not going to feel safe just opening yourself up to, going out and filling out an application to get a cannabis license. It's just, it's scary. And I understood it, and most folks don't want to deal with the red tape of getting licensed as well. Because what happens if they don't get licensed? And what happened on our phase 2, which was our first round of social equity, which was about 3 years ago, that was our cultivation, manufacturing, and distribution application phase. What the city was asking for was for folks to disclose their locations that they were currently operating from. Are you okay?
I'm good. This happens about once or twice every show.
Okay. Got it.
I'm good.
Okay, so what the city was doing is they required folks to disclose their locations, which is idiotic because why would you ask, a gray market operator to disclose their locations? Because if they don't get a license, now all that data is accessible to every agency. So to the sheriffs, to the feds, to the state, I mean, anything. So it was just not a safe round. And I told folks that they had to understand that it wasn't a safe round. So,
Well, one of the
yeah.
things as well, I think with people who are like, even especially in my city where a lot of federal workers work, even though they have medicinal and legal, a lot of people don't want to put their names on those lists because they're afraid of the ramifications to what might happen with their work. So a lot of people want to stay in the black market because they
I
can't
get it.
they can't go legal because they know,
Absolutely.
that something might happen, like somebody might come look up their past or look at what they
Right.
have now.
Yeah. Yeah. And they can't be in a database. And those databases are accessible. And so I get it completely. But, as far as enforcement here, that was another issue because our thing was that we did not want a new war on drugs and folks to start getting arrested because they didn't get licensed, soon enough or, we just didn't want that. And we knew that was going to happen. So we made a deal with LAPD not to enforce as far as taking folks to jail, if they had an illegal dispensary or cultivation. So what they started doing in lieu of that was serving the landlords. So if a landlord had somebody that was operating illegally, the city attorney would serve them with the criminal warrant and saying they had a certain amount of days to get these folks evicted. And if they didn't, it'd be a $20,000 a day fine. And then possibly after that, criminal charges. So, I mean, that was pretty motivating for landlords. But yeah, but it helped us not to, again, get folks back in jail for cannabis. And that was important for us because, again, it was about us doing the outreach and educating folks that there was a social equity opportunity and that they could feel safe going through the process. That was the most important thing for us, was to make sure that people were safe
Feeling so,
and they
yeah.
weren't exposed.
And so, but now, when does that end though? That moratorium, when is that over?
Well, I mean, there's no date on it, but
Okay.
again, we're still licensing. We still have, like, right now we're in the delivery phase of licensing, and then we have another round of retail. So there's another 150 retail for social equity going out probably third quarter of this year. So we still have another couple years of licensing before, we fully get folks in. But they did put a moratorium on cultivation, which is not cool because now Black folks can't get any licensing in LA anymore, which is not cool because we only have like maybe 6 Black operators that are doing cultivation. The rest are all white folks.
Wow. In the
So
whole
that's a
state?
problem. No, in the city of Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. But even still.
Yeah, there was some. Yeah, there was 300 something licenses issued under social equity, and only 6 are operating. 6 black folks, the rest are white folks. And how white folks got licensed under social equity was very interesting, because they were part of social equity because they were investors. And so
Investors
the city
into
into
social
a
equity
social
programs?
equity app. So no, social equity applicants.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
So they would partner with them, they would get their own license, and then they would pull their support from the social equity applicant once they got their licenses.
Well, that's what I was telling you as well about my farmer Hodge who's going for the one in New Jersey. He had
Mhm.
while he was looking for funding, I think Cureleaf was one of them who tried to give him like either a 2 to 98% deal or 5 to 98% deal because they look at I guess what they do is they'll look at your profile as a
Mhm.
person who's
Who would qualify for
who
social equity?
qualify, correct. And then they
Right.
put their money behind you, and you just a person like, hey, hell, $1 million is better than zero, you know. And so they'll put it behind you, but they end up owning the company, and you get nothing out of it. He had a couple of
Right.
them like that, but he had some pretty good partners now. I don't know what the deal is now, but he's not getting screwed like that anymore. But that was only because he didn't take those deals. He had no one to
Yeah.
tell him, he had nowhere to go. It was just that he was like, wait a minute, this don't sound right.
Correct. Yeah. A lot of folks are taking those deals, and they
So
have been
damn,
taking those deals.
6 out of 300.
Yeah, unfortunately. And that's why right now we're working on, okay, so just so you understand, so LA City has an ordinance, but LA County doesn't. LA County has 88 cities within the county,
Okay,
and not all those cities have ordinances.
got you.
So we probably have about 10 cities that have ordinances. The rest are all illegal. The county is illegal.
Okay,
So the sheriff's department is the one that actually polices the county, and in our county it is illegal. So we can't grow in unincorporated, cities and things like that. Um, it's a problem.
so now when you grow, but is there land to grow like, or I mean, I guess you have to have warehouses or something to grow in. Um,
Yeah, in the city we don't really have land. The city, it's all indoor.
okay, got you. Okay.
It's all indoor. But I mean, and we have land in the unincorporated areas, but even still, I think it should be indoor. And but with that being said, LA's so expensive. I mean,
Mhm.
we're paying triple net on rent. Like for,
Mhm.
a building that you generally pay like 75 cents a square, foot on,
Mhm.
you're paying $3 a square foot. And that's just because you're a cannabis business. So like our building, for instance, is 13,000 square foot, where
Mhm.
we pay over 30,000 a month
Mhm.
when we should be paying probably about maybe like 9.
Wow. But because it's cannabis business, they can just slap
Oh,
that fee
correct.
on you.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
That's just the
for sure.
cost of
Now, if folks could
operation.
actually cultivate in these unincorporated areas, they'd be paying, decent rent.
Mhm.
They could
But
afford those leases.
but you can't cultivate that, all right?
No, and that's what we're working on now, is working with the Board of Supervisors to lift that ban for the county, because we really need for, Black folks to be able to, get into those areas and be able to grow. Because that's where they're growing anyway, in the gray
Mhm.
market.
Well, I want you. I really. I want you to get connected with this guy. We'll talk. But the guy I was telling you about, Farmer Hodge, they have this way to grow in small spaces. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's kind of it's not revolutionary, but it will be. The
Oh,
funding
good.
is going to be revolutionary.
Right.
So
Nice. Okay.
yes, I definitely want you guys to get in touch with each other. Have you ever thought about running for office yourself?
No.
You said that
I'd be a,
quick with a straight face.
no, I'd be a bad politician. I'm just not that diplomatic. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I'm just, it's like
You
I'm not
about the
very liked in
business.
this. Yeah, I'm not very liked in this industry because I won't sway. I'm not going to sway my ethics, my core values, my, just my mission on what I'm doing. I
Mhm.
call people out in their wrongdoing, and that's not appreciated in this industry.
Mhm.
Because folks are very greedy, and folks are very corrupt, and that is exactly what would stop us from, like, and when I say us, I mean people of color, from moving forward in this industry,
Mhm.
is cooperation with those type of folks. And
Tony
and I
Exec
just,
said we need to become lobbyists.
yeah, well, we need lobbyists to work with us for sure. I mean, because again, this is what the white folks have when they go against us, and when they're lobbying against social equity, and they do every day. And so, again, I tell a lot of these diversity groups that are fighting for social equity, because they're constantly protesting, doing things like that. But my thing is this, is that while you're protesting, you got these white trade organizations that are paying lobbyists to, make those backdoor deals. And you can't bring a knife to a gunfight. It just doesn't work. And if we don't have the capital to fight just the way they do and bring in the lobbyists and make those type of deals, we're going to stay behind on this. And it's just, it doesn't work. And access to capital is very important. Like right now, I have 3 funding arms that I'm going to be announcing next month.
Okay.
So that, nationally, we can start funding Black and brown businesses in cannabis.
Okay.
Plant touching as well as ancillary.
When does that start?
So,
You said in about 3 weeks?
yeah, we've already started. We just haven't announced it yet because, so we're part of the Jay-Z deal, that's Subversive, that fund, which is not very much. So, we were in the beginning of that deal like 8 months ago. And then we're part of another big fund. And then we just partnered with another big fund. So we have funding arms that will be able to give these low interest loans to folks instead of like folks having to give up like 50 to, like you said, 90% of their equity, so they can still stay real owners. And it's not like we're just going to giving money away. We're going to require people to really, really be serious about wanting to do business, and making sure they have good management teams and things like that around them.
Okay. I can't wait to hear about that as well. We'll definitely promote that here. And you're working with Virginia and New Jersey, right, on their social equity bills, or are they already finished, or are you still working with those?
No, Nebraska, Louisiana, and Virginia.
Okay.
And then, of course, I'm constantly working. Yeah, I just finished Detroit, but I'm constantly working, in different states because, again, and cities because nothing has worked yet. So we're constantly having to make changes. Like LA did a whole reboot on their ordinances back in July. So a lot of changes were made. And so we're constantly seeing these changes happening because they need to. Because, this is all new for us. So we're finding out what's working, what's not, what we need to tweak, what we need to take out, because the loopholes that were allowing all these social equity investors to come in was a big problem. So we had to kind of like put up safeguards, for that. And so, those things we're constantly working on. But what's great about all that is that with these new states that are coming online, we're able to like bring in language and policy based on our past experience of what did work and what didn't work, which is great. So, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and it makes it easier for them and smoother for them to, push it through.
You can just take your template to different states and let them know, hey, this is how we do it. It's the best formula.
Right. And everybody's not going to adopt what we have or what Chicago or what Illinois has or Oakland has because every state and city is different. Just like Colorado implemented a social equity plan, which actually one of my former board members wrote that as well. But Colorado is very different because they don't have a big population of, Black folks. So their social equity is more based on folks that had been to prison for cannabis and folks that were veterans and, people like that. And of course, people of color, but they had to make theirs a little bit more broad just because of the folks that they're, that this social equity plan is going to serve. So places like Virginia, Louisiana may slightly be different, but as long as we have that I would say strong foundation, and the foundational policy is there, that's what's important. They can tweak it towards their state as much as they need to.
Right. I'm glad you're leading the charge. I'm glad. I mean, you've been in the I think, what was it, Prop 64? Was that the first one?
Prop 64 was California. That was our legalization, and
you've been in it.
but
you've been in the fight since then, right? Like since Prop 64, you kind of been.
Yeah, before Prop 64.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Prop 215.
Okay, Prop 215.
So ours was Prop 215, which was our medical. So we've been legal over 25 years.
Okay.
Medically, yeah.
Got you. Okay, and you've been in. So okay, well, damn, Bo. You are. It's a lot of people putting your praises up in here. You are really doing great work.
Thanks. Well, thanks,
y'all. I mean, really, it's because the thing about it is that, like we talked about, we're working from behind, and we don't even know it. A lot of us don't, especially people who are blocking these policies. The people who should be on our team, but they and I get it. They see this as The drugs all over again. They think it's like crack coming in the 80s again, and they saw the devastation that happened. So they can't see the future because they're looking in the past. But if
Mm-hmm.
they look at it from, like you said, how your property values go up when cannabis is legalized,
For sure.
how medicinally people feel better. I've had so many people on this program that were about to die.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, they were dying from prescription drugs, and they got into a cannabis regimen or a CBD regimen, and it changed their life and saved their lives. And
For
that's
sure.
happened with so many people, but people are dying because their doctor said that this is what you should do.
Correct. Correct. And not only that, but I understand I understand that people are traumatized because of the war on drugs and mass incarceration, because both of those go hand in hand. Because the whole war on drugs kind of propelled our mass incarceration and filled our prisons. That was a tool for them to get folks into legal slavery.
Yes,
So
indeed.
so I understand how people are traumatized because people had brothers, fathers, uncles, sons that went to prison, and some are still in prison over this plant. So they're afraid. They're afraid that this legal cannabis is just a trap for black folks. So I understand it. But my thing is this, is that if they really educate themselves to, what this legalization is about and understand that there is legal avenues to get into this industry. And not only that, but the economic benefits of it. Medicinally, yes, it's definitely there, but how it can change cities and communities that have been affected is amazing. Because when Rick and I did that interview, and that was DC, Maryland,
Hmm.
my thing to this one guy was, look, you know, Baltimore is one of the poorest cities in the nation. You
Probably the
know,
poorest.
yeah,
It
and it's
is.
sad.
It's awful.
And I said, but you have liquor stores on every corner. I said, and you care about cannabis?
Hmm.
I said, and he goes, well, it's going to turn our folks into zombies, and they're running around already like zombies. I said, well, it's not from cannabis. It's probably from those, those other drugs, meth and whatever else. But I said, it's not from cannabis. I said, because in my neighborhoods, all I'm seeing now is cannabis tax money being poured into the schools and, building parks, and, our property values are going up, and there's programming for folks that have been affected by the war on drugs. We're the only cannabis organization that's funded by the state of California and the state of Illinois under their community reinvestment program, the cannabis tax money.
Hmm.
And so we are funded to work with folks to help them get cannabis licensing, to put them through training, to put them through, the compliance training that they need to run a business, and, to help them with applications and things like that.
Hmm.
So without that money, we wouldn't have the opportunity to help folks. And
Yeah.
so people should take advantage of this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like
Yeah.
you will not have this opportunity ever in your lifetime. This will be I know in my lifetime, we're not going to see this opportunity for black and brown folks to, get on the ground floor of $1 billion industry that's soon to be $1 trillion. We're not going to see that. So just like we missed out on the tech boom, it's going to be the same thing. We're going to get left out on this if we don't wake up and start moving forward.
A
But what's
thousand
really
percent.
sad is black folks don't invest in black folks, and that's what really is sad. And black folks don't help black folks.
Well, self-hate is a hell of a drug.
It's sad. Yeah,
and
it's sad.
um and black people suffer from that. I think more than anything. I think that once we start to love ourselves, we'll see the value in ourselves and working with ourselves. But it starts with yourself. You got to start loving yourself, seeing yourself as a loving person, and loving
Well, yeah.
yourself. Period. And when you love
Well,
you,
yeah.
it starts there. You
I
know,
yeah, I think
we
loving
got so
yourself
much
and
hate.
also, well, yeah, and also understanding the value. See, folks don't even value themselves. It's like generationally we've had this slave master mentality that, we have to be told and told what to do, give permission what to do, white is right, that kind of shit. And, and I get it. I understand it. Um, Fortunately, I was raised by a Korean mother, so I never had that mentality of understanding what it is to, be controlled, or having to, be in the system and all that kind of shit. But it's just ridiculous how we hold ourselves down because we don't value ourselves.
Hmm. And
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 then, like you said, if we don't love and value ourselves, we're done.
yeah, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We keep going back and forth, and then we can't, it puts the lotion on the skin. We're just digging into a deeper hole instead of stand on each other's backs. But I do see the light, and that's the beautiful thing about it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I mean, what you're doing, like I said, I mean, you guys are really just getting started. 4 years, just think about it. You know what I mean? Like, think about how many people's lives you've already changed. Speaking of Lorenz is just one, and there was another guy, I forgot his name, the guy, I think he was a Mexican guy as well, who had a body shop.
Oh,
Um,
Morrow.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
Morrow.
yeah,
Hmm.
those are just two people. You know what I mean? But their lives are forever changed on a whole different trajectory. They can live different, and then so you're doing that state by state, block by block, brick by brick. So
Right.
it's going to happen.
And the thing about it is, and let's take Lorenz as an example, because his life was changed so dramatically very quickly, with the expungement, with the cannabis licensing, with the training and all that. Because of that, he started a nonprofit and he's able to give back and he's able to, talk about his experiences. Because when I first met Lorenz, he didn't believe anything that we were saying because he met me at a social equity meetup about 3 years ago. And he was like, oh, this is a bunch of bullshit. They're not going to give us licensing. He said, why would the government give us anything? They've never given us anything. And when they do offer us something, they always take it away or they
Mhm.
never implement it.
Mhm.
So he didn't trust me at all,
Mhm.
but he kept coming back to the meetings. And then my thing is that, you know what? I don't want you to believe anything I say. I just want you to just allow me to show you.
Mhm.
And that's what I did. I made all that shit real for him.
Mhm.
And when he saw that, oh, he's like my best advocate,
He
as
got
far
to
as
be.
like, oh yeah. And then he even got in the union. He got in the union. So he's like electrician as well.
Yeah. It's a beautiful story, man. Please, people, look up this story. Lorenz, what's his last name?
Lanier, Lanier. But all they have to do is Google, just put CNN and then Lorenz, and his story will pop right up.
Yeah, please, man. I literally shed a tear when I first saw it, and then watch that movie I'm telling you about. It's called Rock. I think it's on Netflix. Either Rock or Rocky. But it kind of like I thought about him when I saw that story, um, and just changing lives, man. I'm so happy. I was talking to Rick Ross about
Mhm.
let me put that up there.
Yeah, pin it up there so they can pull it
Yeah,
up.
y'all can go check that out. About doing this bike rally that I wanted to do. Um,
Hmm.
and I wanted to do it a long time ago, just to do it, just to kind of pay homage to Harriet Tubman and our ancestors. But
Mm.
with these 40,000, 200,000 people who are hostages, slaves in cages right now for nonviolent cannabis offenses, I want to do a bike rally from Macon to Mason and bring
Mm.
awareness to the
Yeah.
40,000, 200,000. I don't know how to get these things started. I'm an ideas guy. I'm not an organization guy. But
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's something we could work on, something we could talk about, but that's something I
Sure.
really want to do this year, next year, whatever. But I think it'll be
Absolutely.
just something that, and it'll be yearly, just every year, and then it'll
Yeah.
it'll 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 pay homage to our ancestors.
Right.
It'll also bring light to what's going on with modern slavery.
Sure. Absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know.
because I think one of my biggest fears is that with legalization, we're just going to have a new war on drugs because those folks that aren't going to get legal, because right now there's really no reason to, because folks are making more money in the legacy market than they are being legal because it's expensive to stay legal with compliance and everything.
Mhm.
You know, folks think that cannabis folks make a lot of money and they don't understand the costs around being legal. We pay in California, we pay 45% tax.
Mm.
So we're being
Damn.
killed right now. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's stupid because there's no other business that they're paying 45% tax. And then look, and we don't even pay federal tax yet.
I'm about to say, damn, and then you got to pay income tax and federal tax. Like how much did you get? Did you get like 5%? What do you take home after all of that?
It's crazy. I mean, folks just can't even survive. That's why it's not even worth. These legacy folks aren't going to come in because
Right,
they're not going to give up that income
right,
to go legal. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
these are things that we're working on because again,
right.
everything will kind of level out as we kind of regulate things and things get a little bit, I would say more seasoned and
Mhm.
they understand why they're not bringing in the tax, revenue because, folks aren't going to come into this legal market if they can't make money,
Well, I think the
so
biggest thing is for it really has to be some kind of federal legislation on it, and I'm hoping that happens
there
soon.
should be.
You know,
Yeah, there
because
should be.
that'll really help out with at least the second war on drugs. You know what I mean? If you can federally bring it off of the Schedule One, then at least you won't have people. You won't be able to go after people federally. It's a statewide thing then.
Well, see, the only way, see, this is my thing with the federal thing. I mean, definitely, I know we should go federal, but unless there's a social equity, like a federal social equity plan put in place, we're done. Because
Mhm.
as soon as we go federal, all the big boys are coming in.
Mhm.
You know, all the Monsantos, the,
Mhm.
Pepsi Cola, Bear, Starbucks. Trust me, everybody's coming in.
Gotcha.
Revlon. I mean, all the big boys will come in and they have the money to just take the industry over.
Mhm.
So if black folks aren't established and they don't have their foot in the door, it's a problem. So
Mhm.
unless there's a social equity plan already built out in those federal regulations, then we have a problem. So those are the things that we have to work on. You know what I mean? Those are the things that we
Gotcha.
have to bring to the table now so that it goes into the bill. So whatever bill does federally like regulate this industry has those social equity elements in place.
Mhm. Is there any way? How can people get involved locally? Um,
Well,
to,
yeah, I mean, so we're a national organization, so I mean, we try to make sure that we can, help folks everywhere. Like we'll be in Atlanta within the year for sure. I mean, that's one of the cities that, we plan to attack. Um, and then they definitely need a social equity program there. So,
do they have it? Is
but
it legal in Georgia?
yeah, I mean, medicinally they are. They're just not
Okay.
recreational yet.
Okay.
And they have some type of social equity program that's like 20% of licensing or something like that, but it's not very solid. So that needs to be worked on. So
Okay.
with Virginia, so let me tell you what happened in Virginia. So just recently, they just took out the certain elements of social equity that we wanted in. They
Mhm.
left the community reinvestment plan in,
Mhm.
but so now we have to wait till April 7th to make sure that the certain social equity elements that we put in there will be put back in there. And if
Mhm.
not, then we got to fight until July. So I mean, it's a whole big situation. But yeah, um, a lot of stuff is going on. But again, it's a constant fight to, make sure that again these plans are implemented.
Mhm. So you're
And
the
so
you're
yeah,
the
so people could reach out. So they could reach out to any like if they need assistance because again, I respond to everybody that reaches out to me. And so depending on what city and state they are, we can probably help them with, the licensing process if it's there in their city and state, or if they just need to get ready. Because, folks need to get ready
indeed.
for
Everybody who's
legalization in the state.
yeah. That's definitely 100%. Um, Bo, money.
Yes.
You about that money,
Yes.
and you about that equity, and I appreciate you so much for sharing so much knowledge, so much wisdom,
Of
being with
course.
us today. Also, um, I want you to tell Snoop that I need him to do the audio book
Okay.
because I know you know people. But yeah, if you guys want to learn more, if you want help, if you need to spread the word, and I'll be glad when you have a chapter in every city, um, every major city in the country. I mean, when are you coming to DC with a chapter? I know you're in Virginia now.
Yeah, several people have asked me to, open in DC. It's just that
DC
again,
and Baltimore. The resistance
yeah,
they gave you
right.
scared you away.
No. It's not that. It's just that I need people that I can really trust to run my chapters. I just can't
Got you.
allow someone, I've had that happen before, and it was a mess. And then of course I have to be accountable for what people do under that banner of Indica. So
Hmm.
I'm just not gonna have chapters that don't work.
Got you.
You know what I
Well,
mean? And that
yeah.
people may be running rogue. That's all. But again, we can still service people,
Right.
because right now with the COVID thing, it's been virtual anyway.
Okay.
So we're building out our online platform, so that's going to be strong as far as education. And again, that's really important for people to get educated on how to be involved,
Okay.
because again, they don't even know how to get involved. And so again, those are things that we're going to be educating. So also also pin this up as well. We have socialequity.org that's going to be launching in about 2 weeks. They can go right now and register, but socialequity.org is going to be an all encompassing resource and educational and funding website. So it's socialequity.org. So they can sign up now, and then as soon as we launch, they'll all be part of it. So it'll give resources in every single state. It'll give people like the legislation around every state. Yeah, socialequity.org.
Okay. Definitely people
And
follow
then we'll,
that.
hmm
Go ahead, I'm listening. I didn't mean to cut you.
yeah, for sure. Definitely, because I mean, this will be a more comprehensive, like state by state resource guide.
Okay. Yeah, go to
hmm
socialequity.org, Bull the Boss, and everybody else follow Bonita. You can find all this information in her link tree. You can find it on her page. Also, the NDICA 18 is another page, but you can find everything on her page as well. And socialequity.org, you can sign up for that now. Thank you so much,
hmm
Bonita. We
Thank you,
appreciate you.
and anytime.
I appreciate. Yeah, we're gonna definitely have you back on. We're gonna season 3 gonna be a big one too. So we're looking forward to talking to you and speaking with you and working with you in the future. I can't wait. So I'm proud. I'm
Absolutely.
happy. Thank you so
Okay.
much. All right.
Nice seeing you this morning. Bye,
Thank.
everybody.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Well, people, another great show. Another great guest. We've been blessed. I'm telling you. I had no idea that this fellowship, this podcast would would grow so quickly, and we would have such amazing people. Bo and Rick Ross, who I was, I guess, last week, they're on the same board together. They're working to change laws and change minds. I told you guys to buy this book. I'm gonna tell you again, buy this book. It'll help you out. I'll tell you again to buy this book. It'll help you out. Um, and follow us. Follow Bo. Let's change, but look, we're on the cusp of something great. We built this industry. Um, we the people who got it popping from jazz to hip hop to all the boys on the corners who get us bags, all of that. So we need to make sure that we're getting our money and getting ourselves correctly placed in this new industry. So y'all like, share, follow, subscribe, follow us on YouTube. We're gonna be moving to YouTube in season 3, by the way. So look out for that. Peace and blessings. Remember, you are God, jazz and hip hop. Peace.